Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for jumping on. We are super excited to be here and have the opportunity to connect with all of you today. I know you've all had many interactions with Target already this semester, working on maybe some case studies in your classes, depending where you're coming from. And we just thank you for all of your time and your interest in learning more about Target. So thank you all for being here. Happy Monday. We have a great agenda planned with some amazing questions for all of our panelists with us here today, and we're super excited to bring them here, share a little bit more about their careers with supply chain here at Target. I'll introduce myself. I know I've met some of you or you've seen my faces through various presentations already this semester, but Michelle Bullerman, Senior Campus Recruiter here at Target. I do support our headquarters supply chain space within Target headquarters, and I've been with Target for 6.5 years, have loved every aspect of Target, graduated from the University of Minnesota, went to a staffing agency for about 5 years and did corporate recruiting for them, and then moved my way over to Target. And like I said, I've been here for 6.5 years, all within the supply chain space, within talent acquisition and recruiting, but excited to be here today. I also have Najria on the call as well. Najri, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi guys. I am so sorry I'm late, had some tech issues, but yes, my name is Najri Jackson, also a senior recruiter on the campus TA team. I have been with Target for 5.5 years. I have a degree in fashion merchandising, worked in the apparel division for men's for about 2.5 years, and then have almost been in the campus space for 3 in February. So really, really excited to be connecting with you all for this panel today. I think, Michelle, do you want to go ahead and we can kick it off to our panelists and have them introduce themselves?
Yes, that would be great. Sahara, do you want to get us started?
Sure. So my name's Sahara Calderhead. I have been with Target for 4.5 years now. I started in stores actually as executive team lead, which is like an assistant store manager in human resources and then in specialty sales. Then I made the move over to supply chain and I worked in one of our sortation centers for a year as an operations manager. And now I'm in the inventory management space as an inventory analyst in jewelry. I love Target. It's great. I also have a degree in fashion merchandising, and somehow that's led me here, and I really enjoy it. So I hope you guys can learn some great stuff today.
Awesome. Feel free to jump in. Trey, you want to go next?
Absolutely. My name is Trey, Senior Operations Manager here at T3801. Originally started T3808 in Midway, Georgia. I started as a team member in outbound, worked in various departments since then, cross-trained in our maintenance department as well. Moved into management leadership in 2017 after transferring out here to Texas, and then went into production controller for about 3 years, and now recently senior leader on A1.
I can go next. I'm Ashley Neely, Senior Project Engineer on the headquarters supply chain side. I've been working with Target almost 3 years. November will be 3 years. Started off as an operations manager for ENF, Engineering Facilities at the Dallas Sortation Center. I did that for a couple months and then transitioned over to the headquarters space. My background is electrical engineering. Also have a master's in business. And I love working for Target as well.
All right, I think I'm last here. I'm Neji Content. I'm an inventory analyst on the food and beverage team, specifically meat and seafood, training on lunch meat and the snacking desk. Prior to this role, I was an operations manager with Lake City's FDC. So I've been with Target for almost 3 years now. January would make 3 years for me. Prior to this role, I just graduated straight out of college from Florida A&M University. Graduated with a bachelor's in accounting and a master's in business. Definitely have enjoyed my time here at Target, so glad to be here and speak on behalf of my experience.
Thank you. Thanks all. We're super excited to have all of you representing Target here today. And for all of you, we want to make this informal. So if you have questions that we're not answering through some of the pre-planned panelist questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll try to get to as many questions as we can to get those answered. But as you've heard, everybody's coming from a different background, and you'll kind of hear that sentiment through Target all the time, as wherever we start is probably not where we will end up in our last role here at Target. And there's just many different career paths that you can take. Nobody's, I would say, is the same. You can move vertically, you can move horizontally. And so we want to be able to showcase that and just share more information for all of you here today, but also get your questions answered. So again, super informal. Feel free to put questions in the chat. We'll try to keep an eye on those. And if you guys want to make sure that you are on mute, just so that we can hear the panelists, we will get started. So I'll kick us off, Najee, and then I will pass things over to you. But really, you know, as you think about work-life balance and you think about maintaining that, and especially the demanding field of whether it was stores or distribution centers and working out in the field within the Target space, can you share about how you really maintain that work-life balance in such a demanding environment?
I can go ahead and go. Because that's probably one of my favorite things about Target is the work-life balance really exists. They push you to take your vacation. They push you to take your comp days. You know, I've even had a time where I hadn't taken vacation for a while and my leader got an email saying, hey, she hasn't taken vacation. She needs to take vacation. So the nice thing is everybody really supports you and you're not going to be the only one who knows how to do your job. Someone else can fill in for you if you need to take time off. And that's going to be across pretty much anywhere in Target where you work. Is they value you not only as, you know, someone doing the job, but as somebody, as a person who needs the time that they need. So that's probably like one of my favorite things about working here.
Hey, I'll kind of piggyback on that as well. So there's two sides of it for me. One is taking my vacation, scheduling that time ahead, knowing what's going on with my family just as much as I know how the tides work within Target and its seasons and its quarters. But I really wanted to call out what you said about having that support and kind of extend that out to that's not just even in the building or your site, especially from being in my role now. I've realized that there are a ton of people that are willing to help you with support. I've actually experienced it myself, reaching out to different buildings and talking to different leaders. I've probably gotten to know more people in the network here than in my 13 years with Target, just in this 1 year. So that's definitely something that I want to take into this conversation, that I want our team to take with us. I've never had as much support with anyone else except for Target in terms of making sure that we balance or have that work-life balance. So great point.
Yeah, I can piggyback on that as well, from a work-life balance standpoint, or even just the support from others. Being cross-trained and able to fill in for other people allows you also to move up within Target. So covering for somebody that's on vacation or somebody covering for you, it gives you a good balance of learning at work, but also gives you time to, when you need to take off, you're confident that while you're gone, somebody will fulfill, you know, the needs that need to be done as Target. It won't be like, oh, she's gone, everything's gonna crash. So definitely there's a huge support in just learning different roles so the job can keep getting done no matter who's on it, who's there or not.
Yeah, because I agree with what everyone said. The support is definitely there for me. Straight out of college, being an ops manager was like my first role. And I feel like in college, we tend to always hear about 9 to 5s, but within supply chain, those are not always the hours that you are working. So you have to also be very realistic with yourself and what you're signing up for. So when I signed up for my ops manager role, I was living 3 hours away from my family. So there was a lot of times where I was trying to take off so I could visit them. And the team was fully supportive of that. They always knew, like, yeah, Neji's going home this weekend, so we're covering for her. So that's something I really loved.
Awesome. Michelle, do you want me to take the next question?
Sure, yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, awesome. So I will ask next, what advice would you give to students interested in careers within supply chain?
I could start off. I would say be open-minded. There are definitely a lot of opportunities within supply chain. So where you start off is not where you're going to finish. I know for me, starting off within my role, it was definitely like, I enjoyed the leadership. I enjoyed working with my team and, trying to accomplish goals. But I also knew with my background in accounting, I wanted something that allowed me to focus more on the data side and trying to figure out and solve problems. So I expressed that, and that was something they acknowledged, and they helped me get into this role that I'm currently in. So definitely just being open-minded, because there are so many opportunities, and I am even still looking now to see how many other roles that there are within HQ. So yeah.
Okay, I would say to network as much as you can within our network. There are roles out there that I probably still don't know exist. There are roles that are being added. There are teams that are being expanded. Keep those connection and communication waves open, because that's how I found out about roles that maybe last year I didn't even know existed, was through word of mouth, through meeting people, through attending events, and them sharing that information with me. So that's the advice that I would give to anybody going into supply chain: is build a network around you of people who are affiliated with it. You will continue to see what opportunities there are that present themselves.
Yeah, I definitely want to piggyback on the networking aspect of it. I can honestly say from being in college and continuing to maintain those relationships outside of college has helped me a lot. I started off in the straight engineering background and I ended up in supply chain just from having that strong network. So take advantage of the people around you now as well as the people you're going to meet in the future. Sorry, my fire alarm is going off.
And I'll just piggyback off all of them and say, like, really be open, because, to Trey's point, I didn't know that this inventory analyst role really existed in the supply chain until I started seeing, okay, I kind of like what supply chain is about. Let me see what else is going on. There's so many roles at headquarters that are part of the supply chain. And then there's so many like boots on the ground leaders who are in the field that are in supply chain too. And it's being open to the different aspects. And you don't have to know every single thing as you go into the role. You can learn it. But just having that interest and wanting to grow within supply chain, I think, is super important.
I love that. I love being open-minded, because you kind of don't know where your career will take you, and titles are very deceiving at different companies. And so what that looks like at Target might look different at another company that's very similar. When you think about looking back to early career and when you guys started your roles, and I know Najee, you have your master's as well, but thinking about like those specific skills, those certificates that you needed, like what were those skills that you found particular beneficial to have early on, or some of that schooling that you felt like was beneficial to have as you started off in your careers at Target?
I want to go first on this one, but I think outside of education, knowing how to communicate exactly what you want, exactly where you want to go, and that just takes doing your own research, as far as while you're in school and figuring out the path that you can take. But being able to clearly communicate and vouch for yourself, I feel like that's the number one, key, because having a degree now is almost easy. But what makes you stand out with that degree? What makes you be able to speak to yourself that no one else can do besides you? So that's what I would say.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think, to your point, I have a degree in Spanish and fashion merchandising. That has nothing really to do with supply chain. And I got it back in, 2016, and was in retail management forever. And I finally found my way here. I came into supply chain because of my ability to be a leader and have that operations manager role. But then what's really helped me is the ability to network and build relationships and connections, because that's a skill that you need no matter what career you go into, is the ability to make those connections and network, because that's kind of how you'll be able to learn new things and get where you want to go.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both of them on that one, but also I would throw in just like decision-making skills, problem-solving skills. So in college, there are a whole bunch of leadership opportunities, whether you're leading in your classroom or you're in an organization and you're leading in that aspect. And everything that you're doing within those organizations, you may not realize it now, but they actually are preparing you for when you are in the business world and when you are in these groups and you have teams that you're a part of. So being able to communicate, whether it's with your team or with vendors, anybody above you or in the level that is lower than you, you have to know how to communicate and respect. And it's just like everyone reads off of that energy and feeds off of your energy as well. So it's like spreading out good energy, positive energy that gets portrayed back to you. So just having those skills is very important. And outside of just the regular MBA or bachelor's degree, it's really good to have people skills.
I'm going to take a slightly different path on this one. I do agree with everything you guys said 100%. But I think that there is another group of individuals where they may not be confident in what skills that they have. So I think being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and to your point, Ashley, of saying what you want, but then also knowing what you're passionate about. There's a lot of support in our network. There's a lot of teaching and a lot of opportunities for growth. Every leader on this call is probably not the same leader that they were 2 years ago or 3 years ago or 5 years ago. I'm definitely not. So some of those things I've learned over time, some of those things I've struggled with in the past, and I'm better at them now. Hopefully I'll be great at them in the future, but starting out, sometimes accepting what your opportunities are and going into it with the willingness to learn, that may be the best thing for you when you start out.
I love that, Trey. I think what Target leans in a lot to too, and something that I would add on to what everybody has said, is just curiosity as well. I think that's not necessarily a skill that you are maybe getting through school, or it's not some of that like hard skill, but it goes back to some of that soft skill of like coming into Target and having that curiosity from a mindset perspective is key, because it will help with that development, asking those questions. You're hearing from the team that everybody's willing to help. Like, we're truly that team environment. And so if you're coming in asking those questions and being curious in a space that maybe you didn't know you would get into, like, you're going to learn a lot, and you're going to change as a leader. You're going to change as a worker within the Target space, and be able to take that, whether it's advancing your career within our company or, into another company. But I think that piece is really key.
And I think too, Michelle, just hopping in, like, we don't have linear career paths here at Target. As you can see, we all come from different diverse backgrounds and experiences within the company, outside of the company. And one thing that we really take into consideration is the development of us as individuals. And so just going back to what everyone has been saying, like really being able to kind of lean into those differences in the ample amount of opportunity that may not necessarily be your end goal or what you see for yourself, but those developmental skills that you will learn can help prepare you for the future too. I love that. Okay, I'm going to go with the next question here. How important is mentorship in your career journey? And how did you find mentors who guided you along the way?
So I did not take mentorship it's serious when I first started. I'm more so of a like I can figure it out myself type of person, but that quickly humbled me once I got to Target, just because it's not necessarily who you know, but who knows you. And when you have that proper mentorship, it helps. So just taking advantage of the people that you have around you, and also not being afraid to say, hey, can I set up a get to know you? One of the things I love about Target is those get to know yous. When I first started, it was a little overwhelming, just like getting to know everybody on the team. But that helped me like understand that, hey, I need somebody that's already experienced in this field to help mentor me, and help guide me in a way. Like Trey said, if you are not confident in where you want to go, that mentorship is what helps guide you and opens your mind up to different things, as well as, challenge you to think like, well, maybe I should think in a different way. So I think having a strong mentorship, whether you're being the mentee or a mentor, is important for your career.
I'm gonna hop in after Ashley because I definitely was the same where it's like I didn't care much for mentoring because even throughout college, it just never seemed that big. It was just, I was always part of things. So I just kind of knew a lot of people. But once you get out into the work field, it's like you don't know anyone. So that mentorship definitely helps you get to know more people, but also like learn what you want to do and how you could develop in your role. Because like they've said earlier, we could get into a role and it may not be exactly what we thought or what we wanted. So mentorships definitely play a big role when it comes to Target overall. And I feel like sometimes people always think that a mentor has to be so like, hey, do you want to be my mentor? Sometimes it's just somebody that you're constantly talking to that gives you advice, that guides you. I had so many mentors that weren't official mentors, but they guided me to help me get to this role. So mentorships is valuable. And even if you don't feel as comfortable just talking to somebody, just find that one person, and then from there, you'll slowly build your relationships.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. A lot of my mentors, especially before I even went into leadership, when I was just a team member on the floor, they didn't know that they were my mentors. They had no idea that I was watching and listening and bouncing ideas off of them because it was a very natural conversation. So I definitely want to support the one that you just said. A lot of my mentors have not even been an official ask of me saying, hey, can you come mentor me, or can you show me this, or can you introduce my name here? It just became a relationship, and I started learning from them, and they learned more about me, and then my name started being inserted into these conversations pretty naturally. So
And I'll say too, like, your mentor doesn't always have to be like a leader, right? It can be a peer, it can be someone who's like the same level as you, but in a different role. So when I was in the sortation center, the training operations manager was someone who I like spoke with a lot just because she had a lot of life experience and a lot of Target experience, and she was able to help me even prepare to interview for the inventory analyst role. In the inventory analyst role, you're actually assigned a mentor when you start, and you kind of help them and they help you, like you help run their desk, they help teach you different things. And luckily I have a really great mentor, and I'm still close with him. But then as I've learned more about the team, the other people on the team have also become mentors to me, and we all help each other. And I think, sometimes you'll have a mentor assigned to you, and that's great, but then you can also kind of like find your own through whether it's your leader, someone on a completely different team, because sometimes you just need a mentor for like life advice, not even work stuff. So I think it's great just to have the diversity in the different types of mentors and people that you have who help you along your career.
yeah, I do want to share, just for those on this call, one of the most awkward things for me at Target was the idea of almost blind messaging or cold calling someone and saying like, hey, let's get to know each other. They don't know me. I don't really know them that well, but for anyone that is listening and interested in this particular topic, don't be afraid to do it. I've gotten some of the best reactions and responses where I thought people were going to think I was completely just off my rocker, sending them a message. Don't ever be afraid to do it. And once you're actually in role, is probably the best time to continually have a mentor, because Target is a place that constantly ebbs and flows, and there's a ton of movement and opportunity. So you want to make sure that you're still communicating. So when those opportunities come up, you can get to where you truly want to be, what you're truly passionate about.
Yeah, I just want to add one little small thing to that. I definitely just experienced that, Trey, last week. It was a new position coming open, and I was like, man, I kind of want to talk to somebody that's already in that role, but I didn't know anybody directly. So I went on Workday and was looking for people. It took me like 3 days to Slack the guy, but I ended up getting on the call. It was a very like informal call, helped me out a lot, even let me know like, hey, that's not even what you want to be interested in. But if I would have never stepped out, because I was like, he doesn't know me, he probably gonna think I'm weird, like just reaching out to him. But it turned out to be a great conversation. It also led to a possible mentor. He was like, we should stay connected. Despite this, role, maybe we can talk about something else. And I'm like, man, if I would have never done that, would have missed out on that opportunity of just having a mentor.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I would definitely say that's the culture at Target too, is like everybody's willing, like you're saying, like it takes sometimes to get over that hump to actually message somebody, but the person on the other side is like more than willing to connect. I can't tell you how many individuals have reached out to learn about talent acquisition, and I've been able to share that. But then also me reaching out to individuals within the organization. I would say the role that I'm in today, I didn't just jump into this role. I didn't just apply similar to Ashley. I did reach out and actually learn about the position and connect with different individuals on the team. What's the culture like on your team? Like, what's the ebbs, the challenges, the flows of the business? Is that something that I want to do before I apply? And so I would say it's definitely a common aspect of Target. Taking on to a question, but also kind of going back to Sahara, to what you had shared a little bit and thinking about development within Target. I think development is huge. It's something that we really focus on. But how have you really been supported in your development at Target? Think back to that. I know, Sahara, you mentioned like we do pair you up with a mentor when you're jumping into a new role. And I don't know what that experience has been like for the rest of you, but kind of leaning on that and then just other development aspects that Target has really supported you in. Talk a little bit about that for us.
I can kind of just add on some stuff. So something that's really been interesting for me at Target, because I have worked other places before professionally, is we have development statuses with our leaders where we literally like have some stuff we've had to fill out beforehand, like a development plan, and we can go over kind of where we're at with that. How can they help us? My leader and I have talked about maybe teams that I'm interested in, and how can I reach out and set up connections, but how can he help me reach out and set up connections with people that he knows? You can also take on, helping cover for someone while they're on vacation. That can help you develop as well to learn those skills. I just think there's so many opportunities, and at first it was kind of overwhelming, like, oh my gosh, like I have to keep developing. But as you think about that, that's actually great, because you can either keep developing and be the greatest you are ever in the role that you're in, if that's what you want to do and stay there, but you can also continue to develop and move on and do something else if you want, and Target supports you either way.
Yeah, I would say the support is extreme. When I was in the sortation center, I did fill out that development plan chart, and from there, my senior manager reached out to somebody for me to help, guide me in the direction. They even like suggested maybe you should go to like school to learn more about PLCs and other things like that. So the support is there. I love that development plan. I've worked for other companies as well, and I haven't experienced that. It's more so, it also, the development plan not only helps others help you, but it helps you understand like, dang, where do I need to grow? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? And so to me, that's a level of support that you don't experience in other places most times. And it was overwhelming, but the breath of fresh air for sure.
I definitely agree with what Ashley and Sahara were saying. So when it comes to me and my development plan at the FDC, like how Sahara was saying, we had our development statuses with our managers and just kind of let them know where we wanted to go. And from there, I was starting to be set up with to do like reach out to people who were analysts and do get to know you. Then from there, that analyst will connect me to somebody else, and that just like became a trickle effect. But also they have like a lot of other programs that they have. So like Guild is one program that Target has, and I actually signed up for Guild, and I had got a data analytics professional certificate before I came on to this role. So that definitely like helped me stand out essentially too, because it's like, okay, I want this role and I'm actively working towards it. And that's something that I was doing outside of work. So I would go to work and then I would go home and I'll work on that certificate. So it just shows like your determination of what you want to do. But it's not all about just where you want to go, but how you're also exceeding in your current role. So that is very important within Target, just getting your full support from your team members and your managers. That is something that Target values. So you have to make sure that you're doing your current role before you could even consider trying to move on to do another role. And that's where it comes to developing and learning, how can I grow more, or what can I do more?
Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. One thing that I will also share in terms of development, something that I got from the HQ side, is something that we have called a Connect program. And so this is for our diverse new hires. And so when I came to Target, I had a peer mentor, which was someone who was the same level that I was, maybe with a year's worth of experience at that role. And then I had a sponsor who is someone at the director or above level to really kind of help and guide me as I came in new to Target, just understanding the culture, understanding kind of the processes and procedures when it comes to career growth and development. I've even had, my sponsor help me write my first review. I've never written a review for myself before. So there are definitely a ton of resources that we utilize here to really help you lean in, again, just support your own development. And so going to kind of switch gears a little bit and go back to supply chain. And so from you all's perspective, because I know you work in various areas of supply chain, what are some emerging trends or technologies that you think will significantly impact supply chain careers in the next 5 to 10 years?
Straight to guests, straight to guest service for sure.
And what does that mean for the students?
That means when a person, let's say that I'm a customer and I'm online on Target's great app, and I order something, I can get that product within the day in some cases. So being able to take those orders in, fulfill them in our fulfillment centers, and then use our vendors to get those out to someone's home within the day. That is going to be something that, from a consumer standpoint, it will start to be the norm. It'll start to be commonplace. It'll start to be the regular expectation of service. So I think that is going to continue to be in high demand, and we're going to continue to be problem solving to make that more efficient and faster and more serviceable to our customers.
Target's been opening sortation centers over the last couple of years. That's where I worked in supply chain as an operations manager. Was the one in Georgia, and basically use those to speed up and make more efficient getting the online orders to guests that they order to come shipped to their home. So just kind of adding on, like, the speed at which we're able to get things to the guest is one of the really big trends that we're focusing on, and trying to make it as fast as possible for guests to get what they want and make them want to rely on us and trust us to deliver those goods for them in a timely manner.
Yeah, I could hop off of what they were saying. So I feel like Target is also one of the things that's known more so for like apparel, home essentials, but like food and beverage is growing like very fast within Target too. So there's just a lot of changes happening there, and just within on our end, just trying to change systems or processes to make it more efficient, effective for our customers and our clients. So it's just like trying to do all of that while it's growing fast. It's like so many changes that are happening that we're seeing on our end and that are to continue coming. So I'd say that would be one of the main things, food and beverage growing.
Sorry, I forgot to take the mute button off. On the operational side as well, I believe, and this is just my theory, I believe that we're going to see less vendor partnerships in terms of our operations in our DCs and our fulfillment centers. I think what you're going to start to see, and we've seen it with our fleet recently, is we're going to start to be self-owned, have self-ownership of some of those things that we used to contract out to vendors as well.
And what Trey's talking about with our fleet is we actually have a fleet of drivers now. So we have invested heavily in that and have Target's own fleet that we're able to lean on from a moving perspective with our inventory. As you guys are thinking about this question, we can continue to take on to this, but thinking about yourselves individually, like, what makes you the most passionate about supply chain in your role today? I know obviously all of you didn't know that you would be sitting in the seat that you're in today. And so where does that passion come from for supply chain in your role? What is that passionate aspect for you?
I think my passion comes from being a Target customer. So prior to me ever working for Target, I already loved Target. And so to transition to have an impact on how the next customer could feel, or creating a new Target lover, I think that's what drives me the most in making sure the processes that I do work on from a supply chain standpoint reflects in that store experience. I don't work on the store side, obviously just supply chain, but it's like we are the beginning path of that store experience. And so I just want to make sure from the beginning of that experience that everybody can understand, like, hey, it takes a lot for this. And when I go in stores, I want to feel like, hey, wow, we implemented this and this feels good. So I think being a customer is what drives me.
Yeah, I agree. I've always loved Target from when I was a little kid. It's definitely one of my favorite places to shop. So that drives me to make the experience the best that I can for every guest that walks into a Target. And I think for me too, it's a little bit unique because I did work in a store before I came to supply chain. So in the store, I'm able to see everything that the supply chain does to get it to us, but now I can see how the supply chain does that. So it's able it's made me able to understand, like, from when I was in stores, like how things and why things were the way that they were. And then I'm able to make sure that I make sure the stores have a good experience too, and the team members who then have to process the freight that we're in charge of getting to them, that they're able to have a good experience in doing that. So I think it's, for me, very fascinating to be able to see both sides.
For me, I would say that I've always kind of had a passion for business. Like, I just have an entrepreneurial mindset. So it's like once I got into the ops manager role, seeing how that worked and like how inventory flows through a business and how we get it to our stores, like I found that interesting. And then now coming into this role, seeing like how we communicate with our vendors and how like we're pretty much the ones that are responsible of making sure that the items are getting down there, it just makes it even more interesting for me. So that's how I kind of tie in my personal interest with my role.
Mine's very similar to y'all's. Also, kind of going back to that work-life balance side. So in terms of benefits, in terms of the time that I was able to spend with my kids when they were young, and still have an occupation in which I'm learning and growing and meeting other people and getting more opportunities, what better place to be than Target for that? And I don't say that because I just landed at Target. I had other jobs while I worked at Target. Target is the one that stayed solidified for me. Target is the one that I always leaned on as this is going to be a long-term thing, and it probably will continue to be a long-term thing. In combination with that is just my passion for leadership and teaching. So I started out training in the DC, and then that grew and developed into leadership opportunities, and that's something that I still do. So behind all of the products that we get at Target, the products that get delivered to your house, where there's people that are driving the business so that they can get there. And those people have problems just like anybody else. And those people need motivation and instruction and course correction and uplifting. And so it's nice to be a part of that circle that's driving some of that.
Najee, can you share a little bit more too about Guild? I know you went through Guild, you got your business analytics background before jumping into this role. Like, what was that experience? Tell them a little bit more about what that program looks like for Target.
Yeah, so Guild offers like several different programs, whether you want to get a certificate or you're going for your actual degree and you want to take some real courses, you could do that as well. And they also have them set for like different time frames. So certain certificates might be a 3-week course or a couple months. Mine was actually a 6-month course. And I like heavily questioned, like, do I really want to sign up for this several times? But I kind of just dove in and went for it. So essentially, it's just having like little tasks. I'm pretty sure you guys have online courses or courses where you are in person, but you have assignments that you still have to do online. So it's pretty much just going in. Sometimes I'll be watching a video and they'll give me some examples. And then I would actually have to do my own examples. But within that, they also had like a project, like mini projects that you would do. So it was a whole bunch of assignments that actually taught you. So I was learning how to do things within Excel, creating pivots, which a lot of it was familiar just throughout my experience within college. But there were a lot of useful tips that I was learning along the way. And just being able to speak to those when I was interviewing for this role added a lot of value. And it was ironic because one of my interviewers was speaking how he wanted to get that same exact certificate. So then I started, like trying to act like I know everything that was going on just so I could look good on the other end. Cause like, hey, I could help you out. But it definitely played in my favor in the long run. 6-month course, I try to dedicate like a couple hours a day, usually on my weekends if I could, because I would be tired after work. But I would just dedicate a couple hours a day, do some videos, knock out some assignments, and it's at your own pace as well. So you don't feel rushed. And even at the deadline, if you had some assignments that you couldn't complete, all you had to do was like email the instructor and they would extend it like another 2 weeks so that you could have more time to finish it. Because they're very realistic. We all have lives. Some of us are parents. So you may not have the time to commit to do everything within the time frame that is provided. So they make it as easy as possible for you to achieve that certificate, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, I love that. And I love Najee's story with that. So within Guild is actually a third party that we partner with. So they offer a ton of like she's at different classes, different certificates. It could be a master's if you want to go back and get your master's, or, you know, another degree within your bachelor's space. So just a lot of different options for you that is paid for by Target, which I think is super cool. It goes back to kind of those development aspects that we've talked about within Target. It gave Najee some more experience to then get into that inventory analyst space as well. And so, you know, wherever you start at Target, you could, you know, jump into Guild, our Dream to Be program, to get some more experience in those areas that maybe you need to develop, and you're seeing, you know, some gaps to then make those career jumps into other opportunities within the organization. So absolutely love that. I know a ton of people take advantage of it, and sometimes it just takes that hump of like signing up to then be able to dive into that work.
I can kind of take on that one a little bit, and maybe Trey can hop in here as well. So we have a question. Would you please share your experience with crisis management dealing with Target's product supply shortage? What did Target learn from COVID-19 supply chain crisis? So during COVID, I was actually a buyer in merchandising, and so I got to see from the HQ side how important supply chain is, not only for our company, but just for retail in general. And I can say we definitely did implement a few things, even just from the buying side, in terms of how we order product, how we have our replenishment coming in, how often we communicate to vendors. It actually helped us to change to see, hey, can we find local vendors that are within USA versus outsourcing in other countries. And I think too, I definitely dedicate our success to our operation managers within the facilities during that time for being able to think quickly on their feet, to make adjustments, to understand when trucks are supposed to be coming in, but they're delayed for certain reasons, and then you're backed up. And so, Trey, I don't know if you want to speak kind of a little bit more to that and how that was for you. That
Yeah, I was gonna share that I always thought that Target was a place of adaptation, a place of quick change. I never saw that more before going into a pandemic. I've never been in a position of leadership and guiding staffing and plans and new processes and social distancing, different care programs for our team. I've never been in a position of leadership at that level to drive it the way that we did. And watching it was interesting. It was amazingly, stressfully beautiful. There was a lot of things that we learned from it. And yes, there was some hardships that came with it, but overcoming those challenges is the best part of that. So social distancing, that was definitely something we've never done here at Target. Learning how to navigate that, even from the team member aspect of making sure our team felt comfortable. It was a time where everyone had a lot of different feelings and thoughts and worries going on, and being able to still be productive in our building and manage that part of it, which is not always an easy thing to do when you're talking about people and the way they feel and their families and their concerns. Being able to do that is one of the best things that we were able to do in supply chain, in my opinion.
Awesome. Okay. And so now we are going to open the floor to you guys. We can take a few more questions. That was a really great one. Would anyone like to pop off of mute and ask any of our panelists any questions?
Hi, I'll ask a question. My name is Anjola Matthews. I'm a junior here at Howard University, and I'm a supply chain major. And I just wanted to know, what is like a day-to-day like walkthrough of like with some of y'all's jobs, like in regards to supply chain, like what does a standard day look like, maybe wherever you work?
I would,
You want to go first?
sure, I can. Sorry. I would say for me, it's not necessarily a standard day, but a standard week. And it was different as an operations manager in sortation. It was a standard day, you know, staffing, stand up, monitor the operation, all that. every day was pretty much the same until, a truck came late and then you had to make a decision, or your team members called out and you had to figure out how to get it done. But in the inventory analyst role, I'd say every week is more what it looks like. Like on Mondays, I have all our reporting. On Tuesdays in my business, we have to do all of our ordering. And then the rest of the week is kind of like dealing with other issues that may pop up or getting things set up for new seasons. So it depends on the role for sure, whether it's a daily thing or kind of a weekly thing that looks the same.
I think for me, as a project engineer, day to day, I do a lot of like analyzing budgets for new supply chain warehouses. Just trying to make sure we have the right amount of money to have all the supplies that team members need once we open the warehouse up. Outside of that, I do a lot of site visits, not daily, but monthly, depending on the phase of the site. And when I do those site visits, I go out to see what the progress is with the construction manager, if we need to make any changes to design last minute, then also making sure everything is in place for permitting and commissioning at the end.
For me, senior ops manager, day to day is a lot of meetings, just to be completely honest with you. It's a lot of meetings, it's a lot of consulting, it's a lot of statuses. But that is intended because if you look at my weekly or month to month, and what we say in operations is SOMs on the month, OMs on the day. So it's strategic planning. So not just for staffing, but also for how we're going to meet our metrics, how we're going to improve our metrics. What do our teams look like overall, like high level staffing decisions? What is it going to look like 3 months from now, 6 months from now? What does my management staffing look like in 2024? What's it going to look like in 2025? What does my team want? And how do I get them there? And then other opportunities. How do they grow? How do they develop? What are the things that I need to facilitate getting them so that they can continue to grow and develop and get ultimately where they want to be, or to that next step closer to where they want to be? That's a lot of what I look at, which is very different than what I initially thought. There's a lot of things on the back end in this role that I had no idea was an expectation. Luckily, they align with the things that I'm passionate about. So, and then also there was some opportunities for growth there that I had as well. So, a lot of meetings, lots of conversations, strategic planning, long-term outlook. That is probably the overall kind of week to week, month to month of my role.
I'll say my task kind of similar to what Sahara was saying for hers. Even though we are both IAs, some of our weekly tasks may vary because, like, I believe she said you're in jewelry and I am on food and beverage. So how she orders on Tuesdays, I order daily. So that is one thing that just varies right there. But same thing on Mondays, reliability reports, just sending out that information. And then throughout the week, it's handling emails with our vendors if we have any issues that are going on, analyzing data, forecasts, making sure that things are up to date. But yeah, roughly the same things, just same weekly tasks of making sure that everything is flowing down to our FDCs and ultimately our stores at the end of the day.
Awesome. That was a great question. Does anyone else want to pop off of mute?
To answer Trey's question, reliability is pretty much just a track of our vendors and how our business is doing, whether it's about our out of stocks, on shelf availability, MMARs. It's just a list of data that we're sending out to our team so that everyone is aware of where our business is currently standing.
Thank you.
Awesome. One more question from you guys. Anyone else? Okay, awesome. Well, if we have no more questions, just going to do a quick roundtable. Would love to hear from you guys. What is one piece of advice each of you will leave with the students here today as they are navigating, figuring out where they want to start their careers?
I think mine's going to be a combination of everyone. So a combination of being comfortable, being uncomfortable, um, not necessarily having your mindset on this one thing, but being very open-minded about where your path could go, where it could end, what can happen as you go along the way. And then what Ashley said, which I think was one of the best points, was be clear about what it is that you want, whether that's what you're passionate about, an overall view of what your job entails, not necessarily what the title is, but what are the characteristics of that job that you want? What are the characteristics of that career path that you want to take? So that would be the best advice I think I can leave the group with.
I think for me, take advantage of your network. Take advantage of your current network. It does not have to be people that are already employed. Take advantage of your peers and the knowledge that they have. Everybody's on a different level, I'm pretty sure. So definitely take advantage of that. And don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone, like he said. Ask as many questions, research. Google is your friend. YouTube University is your friend. um, take advantage of all those resources. They will help you out and help guide you, even if you are lost and like, I have no idea where I want to go when I graduate from school. I don't even know if I really want to do this. Take advantage and ask your peers. I'm pretty sure you're not the only one feeling that way.
I'll add on and say, be curious and have that open mind. We kind of talked about earlier how where you start isn't necessarily where you have to end up. I started in HR in stores and now I'm an inventory analyst. Like, no path really like indicates that I would go that way, but that's kind of how I landed based on, connections and being interested in what I wanted. And make sure you maintain those relationships that you make throughout the way, because something that's actually pretty funny for me is the recruiter for the IA role is actually someone I onboarded with same day, same class for my HR executive team lead role. And that definitely helped me to have that connection to get into the whole interview process. So as you make those connections, make sure you keep up with them and that you're like making that good impression. And then the other thing I'll say is if you know you want to work somewhere, sometimes it's about getting your foot in the door, right? Maybe it's not your dream job, but if you know you want to work at any company and you see a job that can be your foot in the door there, just know that like it's worth it to take that risk and go for it, because it'll help you down the line to get where you want to go. That would definitely be the biggest thing I've learned, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like all three of them pretty much said everything that I'm gonna say, but just definitely be open-minded about your career and the opportunities that there are out there. You never really know where you're going, and job titles may not be exactly what you think it is gonna be. So open minding is very important. Networking is very important. And the bridges that you build, it's important to not burn those bridges. You never know how people come back in your life. And I'm telling you this from experience, because when I was going for this role, it was ironic that I got to get to know you with somebody who knew the person that was interviewing me. And it was just like, it came into a full circle where I swear she went back and told her like, hey, I met with her. She's amazing. You should hire her. That is just what goes on in my head. So those bridges that you're building, do not burn them. Even in college, people come back in your life one way or another. So yeah, it was definitely great being here and appreciate having the time to share with you guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you, all of our target panelists. We appreciate you being here, taking time out of your busy day. We know that we are heading into our busy season here at Target. We call it our Super Bowl as we head into Q4. So we just appreciate all of your time and taking that time away from your desk to jump into this space. And students, thank you for jumping on. We hope that you learned at least one thing new today as you walk away from this panel. But we are here if you have questions, and we just appreciate you jumping on to listen a little bit more about our careers and development and path and just overall Target culture. So thank you, and we hope that you guys all have a great rest of your week. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.